You can be doing better than you were last year and still feel like you are losing. You can improve your skills, build better habits, start moving toward the life you want. But then you open your phone and see someone younger than you buying a house, someone your age getting married, someone traveling the world, someone building the career you dreamed about. And suddenly, everything you have achieved feels small. Nothing about your life changed in that moment, but the way you measured it did. Because your brain does not only ask, am I making progress? It also asks, how am I doing compared to everyone else? And that one question can make a good life feel like a failure. Psychologists call this social comparison. The idea was formally developed by psychologist Leon Festinger in 1954. Festinger argued that people are driven to evaluate their opinions and abilities, and when there is no clear, objective way to measure themselves, they often look at other people. You compare your appearance, your money, your intelligence, your relationships, your confidence, your career, even your happiness. Most of the time, you do not consciously decide to compare. It happens quickly. You enter a room and immediately notice who seems confident, who receives the most attention, who appears successful, who seems respected. Your mind is collecting information and trying to understand where you stand. Comparison is not automatically bad. It can show you what is possible. It can help you recognize your strengths. It can reveal areas where you want to improve. The problem begins when comparison stops being information and becomes a judgment about your worth. Human beings depend heavily on other people. We learn from each other. We cooperate, we look for acceptance, and we pay attention to how we are treated by the groups around us. So it makes sense that your mind cares about social position, who is respected, who is trusted, who seems to be succeeding, who appears to belong. But modern life gives that comparison system more information than it can comfortably process. You are no longer comparing yourself only with people you personally know. You can compare yourself with actors, athletes, entrepreneurs, models, influencers, students, and complete strangers from around the world, all within a few minutes. Your mind treats these people as useful reference points, even when their lives are completely different from yours. Different opportunities, different resources, different goals, different starting points. But emotionally, the comparison can still feel fair. Your mind also tends to notice people who appear to be ahead of you. Someone richer, more attractive, more confident, more successful. This is known as upward comparison. Upward comparison can be useful. You might see someone doing well and think, if they learned how to do it, maybe I can learn too. Their success can become evidence that improvement is possible. But upward comparison can also become destructive, because instead of studying what they did, you use their success as evidence that you are failing. They are ahead, so you must be behind. They are talented, so you must not be. They succeeded early, so you must be too late. But that conclusion ignores almost everything you cannot see: their advantages, their timing, their support, their failures, their private struggles, and the years of work that happened before you discovered them. You see their visible result, then compare it with your unfinished process. Social media makes this comparison even harder to control, because people usually do not post a complete record of their lives. They post the promotion, not every rejection that came before it. They post the relationship, not every difficult conversation. They post the finished transformation, not every day they wanted to give up. They post the successful business, not every failed idea that came first. You are comparing your complete life with carefully selected moments from someone else's life. You see your doubts, your boredom, your mistakes, your fear. But you mostly see their highlights, and after enough scrolling, those highlights can start to feel like normal life. An ordinary day feels disappointing. Slow progress feels like no progress. A normal income feels embarrassing. And rest begins to feel like laziness. Not because your life suddenly became worse, but because your reference point changed. In 2013, psychologist Ethan Kross and his colleagues followed a group of young adults for 2 weeks. Participants received messages several times a day asking how they felt, and how much they had recently used Facebook. The researchers found that greater Facebook use predicted feeling worse later, and greater use across the 2 weeks predicted declining life satisfaction. That study did not prove that every moment on social media makes people unhappy, and it did not prove that social comparison was the only explanation. But it demonstrated something important. The way you use social media can be connected to how you feel afterward. Then, in 2018, psychologist Melissa Hunt and researchers at the University of Pennsylvania conducted an experiment. Some students continued using social media normally. Others limited Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat to 10 minutes per platform each day. After 3 weeks, the limited use group reported greater reductions in loneliness and depression than the control group. Again, this does not mean social media is always harmful. It can help people communicate, learn, create, find support, and build genuine relationships. But these studies suggest that more exposure is not automatically better, and that changing how much you consume can change how you feel. There is another problem. Comparison has no finish line. Imagine that you finally reach the level you once wanted. You earn more money, you become more skilled, you improve your appearance, you build an audience. For a moment, you feel proud, but then your mind adjusts. The achievement becomes familiar, and you find someone new to compare yourself with. Someone with more money, more recognition, more freedom, a bigger audience, a better lifestyle. The target keeps moving. So even while you are making progress, you can continue feeling behind. Success does not always end in security. Sometimes, it simply places you in a new group, with even more successful people to compare yourself with. You can spend your entire life climbing, and still find someone standing above you. Constant comparison changes the questions you ask yourself. Instead of asking, "What kind of life do I actually want?" you ask, "What should I have achieved by now?" Instead of choosing goals that fit you, you chase goals that look impressive to other people. You rush decisions. You criticize your own timing. And you ignore quiet progress because it does not look dramatic online. Comparison can make you feel late when you are simply following a different path. It can make you feel unsuccessful while you are building something meaningful. And it can make you resent people who did nothing wrong, except remind you of what you believe you lack. You probably cannot completely stop your mind from comparing, but you can change what you do next. First, notice when the comparison happens. When someone's success makes you feel smaller, pause. Do not immediately treat the feeling as a fact. Ask yourself, what exactly am I comparing? Do we have the same starting point? The same resources? The same responsibilities? The same goals? The same stage of life? Usually, the answer is no. Second, turn envy into information. Instead of saying, "They are better than me," ask, "What do they have that I genuinely want?" Maybe it is not their money. Maybe it is their freedom. Maybe it is not their appearance. Maybe it is their discipline. Maybe it is not their popularity. Maybe it is their confidence. When you identify what you truly want, comparison becomes useful. It gives you direction instead of shame. Third, compare yourself across time. Look at who you were 6 months ago, 1 year ago, 3 years ago. What do you understand now that you did not understand then? What can you do now that once felt difficult? What problems have you survived? Progress often becomes difficult to notice when you see yourself every day. But invisible progress is still progress. Fourth, reduce unnecessary exposure. You do not have to follow every person who repeatedly makes you feel inadequate. That does not mean they are bad. It means your attention affects your mind. Be careful about what you repeatedly use as the standard for your life. And finally, choose your measurements before opening social media. Decide what progress means for you. Maybe it means learning consistently, saving a small amount of money, improving your health, finishing a project, or becoming slightly more disciplined than you were yesterday. Without your own definition of progress, your mind will borrow someone else's. Someone else's progress is not proof that you are failing. Their timeline does not define yours. Their success does not remove your opportunity. And being in a different chapter does not mean you are behind. Your mind will probably continue comparing.
That is part of how people understand themselves and the world around them. But you do not have to treat every comparison as a final judgment about your life. Sometimes, the feeling of being behind is not a fact. It is simply what happens when you measure your entire journey against someone else's best moment. So keep moving, not because you need to catch everyone else, but because your life deserves to be measured by the direction you are going, not by the position of the people around you. Subscribe for more hidden things your brain does without you noticing.